Welcome to the Alt Journey podcast, an unedited, honest peer dialogue to lead the future. Today's conversation is with Elizabeth Hunter, and we will go deeper into the last episode, Walking the Unscripted Journey. We explore how we move beyond the old management mindset of profit and performance to spark renewal in business with authentic leadership. Elizabeth is a global HR business partner, passionate about partnering with senior leaders to help leaders see different perspectives so they can chart the best path forward. My name is Arjan Visser. Elizabeth, welcome in the podcast.
Thank you, Arjan. Glad to be here.
I'm really excited about our conversation based on our pre-talk, where we already went deep into what is that unscripted journey that we as leaders walk. And you already mentioned that everyone is a leader. If we lead ourselves or we lead others, we have to see ourselves as leaders.
Yes, that's right. I think there have been books written about followership and being a good follower. But when it comes down to it, we make thousands and thousands of decisions every day. And we can decide to be pioneers and to seek our future and live into our future and our purpose, or we can become stagnant. And that's our choice.
So when you think of the unscripted journey as a leader, pioneering, like no one has created the path. We are finding out our own path in a way through life, our unique path fitting our identity. What do you think is really essential to stay intrinsically motivated?
Well, I have a worldview, a Christian worldview, and taking time to feed my soul, feed my spirit, as well as feeding my body and my mind. All of those things work together. And one of the most important lessons I've learned in the corporate world is taking time to slow down. When you're just rushing from task to task, and we have all collaboration software and we have all kinds of technology tools that grab our attention, and we can find ourselves almost in a manic race from email to Teams meeting or Zoom meeting to my social media feed to that news alert that just popped up on my computer. And it's not beneficial, and it doesn't lead to the kind of outcomes necessarily that we want. If you're familiar with the video game Whack-A-Mole, where something pops up and you knock it down, and it pops up and you knock it down, and sometimes your days at work can feel like that, or your days at home. So slowing down, I think, is one of the most important things that we can do. And being intentional, being mindful and focused on where do I want to go? That unscripted journey. I have limitless choices. How am I going to spend my time today? And I know, Arjan, on the Alt Journey peer conversations, we've talked about rather than measuring things by time, to measure by impact. So what am I not just how am I going to spend my time? I'm going to spend, X number of hours with my kids, or, reading that book or cooking or whatever it is. What impact am I going to have? And if I think about an urgent, important matrix, I'm making choices. Do I take the easy path to as I think about how I invest my time, or do I really work toward having that impact?
That's definitely, I think, unscripted, because it just don't have to think hard even, but it feels like going against the flow, upstream.
Yeah. And that requires energy, and the basics of eat right, get enough sleep, exercise, you know, those things. As I've gotten older, I've found that things like getting enough sleep are even more important than they used to. When I get into sleep debt, my thinking isn't as clear. I'm not my best self. So some of those basics, tending to the basics, but as a leader, I'm continually setting an example for others, whether I know it or not. Kids, grandkids, in my case, I have quite a few grandkids, and I am very much aware that they observe everything and they are little learning machines. And what is the example I'm setting for them? My leadership, part of that is being mumsy to my grandkids. And that's really important.
Yeah, I remember when our kids were really small, no grandkids yet. Um, you couldn't ask them something to do that you didn't model yourself first, because they listened to my language, but they mainly viewed my behavior. And if
Actions.
th- and
Mhm.
if that was not aligned, they got confused and they tried to manage themselves. And I interpreted that as they were not listening. And before we know, we had an argument. But the foundation was they were confused because what I said and what they saw didn't match.
Yes. And how often do we see that in the workplace? A lot. And in the right culture and the right environment, we're encouraged to call that out and hold our coworkers, our colleagues, our leaders accountable. Are you really living out what you say is important, or are your actions not in concert with what you really believe? And that's something that we on this unscripted journey continually need to reflect and course correct if necessary. Um, because I want to be my best self. I want to be that example that people look at me and they want what they see in me.
Mm. Yeah,
That's one of my goals.
yes. And I want to be accountable. I want to be inspired by other people who are accountable to themselves. And I could ask questions that, if I am confused about what they ask, what they say, and what they do is not matching up. So even those kind of things, those intrinsic drivers, like being intentional, accountable, responsible, um, I need them to be modeled in front of me. So I need to be inspired by others, even if that means that they don't know what's next, even if they
Mhm.
are pioneering itself. It's so inspirational to see someone pioneer, mess up, learn, try again,
Yeah.
mess up, try again, and then succeed. That's even more inspirational than just someone only sharing the victory, the achievement, the success.
Because I think about imposter syndrome, I want to know that it is safe to take a risk and possibly fail, because that still advances me. In corporate world, we fail fast, we fail forward. Um, and those are just kind of catchwords, but they mean a lot. If I'm continually afraid that I'm not going to live up to my leader's expectation, I tend to withdraw, play it safe. And I know in the alt forum, we talk about the risk model, um, and that you have to recognize an opportunity. That's the first step, but then you have to be willing to take the next steps to move forward, possibly course correcting on the way. But that's how we grow. And if you're not growing, you're dying, you're stagnant. Um, so taking that safe path is not helping you live into the future, and it's
Mm.
certainly not inspiring others as a leader.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in the introduction, I mentioned the word spark. And as just how do you spark renewal in your business with your authentic leadership. And just the example you gave, it's so important to inspire someone by listening to your own spark.
Yes, if I want the people around me, the team members, my family, to devote time to growing and developing themselves and to living into their purpose, living into their God-given future, I have to model that. And one of the ways I can encourage those people in my sphere of influence is by making sure that they're seen and heard.
Yeah.
It is so powerful to just be there for someone and really listen to what they have to say. I think about companies that spend untold dollars on culture surveys. And what are our team members telling us? And guess what? Those things, they're anonymous because we want people to be honest. But don't don't I want to create a culture and an environment where you don't have to hide behind anonymity, that you can come to me and say, this thing is really bothering me. And as a leader, I really would like you to do something about it. That's the environment I want. If it's in the family, mom, it's not fair the way you assign chores. So guess what? Back in the day, we created the wheel of chores. Think Wheel of Fortune with the chores on the little spinny wheel, and you get turns to go first. And you know what I found out? I found out the kids kind of self-selected, that they always wanted Sarah to cook dinner, like cook a meal for the family. And then Phil wanted to mow the lawn, even though it was the longest chore. Like Danny wanted to clean the bathroom because he could get that done fast. And Phil would spend hours mowing the lawn because he loved the riding lawnmower. So they self-selected. And then wasn't that better than my husband and me assigning chores? Like, listen, listen to people and come up with a different way.
Absolutely. I'm just thinking like that self-selection is the foundation of their ownership.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we love to see people own it. And,
Yes.
and in the corporate world, we tend to overuse the word commitment. And
Yeah.
the distinction between the two, to make it black and white, is you own it because you see the benefit of it for your personal growth, for your personal life. Commitment is you don't see it, but you just want to be faithful. And probably there is some kind of motivation, not inspiration, but motivation, that you don't want to have the discussion if you're not meeting expectation.
You don't want to disappoint. Yeah.
Exactly. So that being seen and heard, that I think those two words are so powerful, because we tend to say, I don't want to be tolerated. I want to be celebrated. And in an earlier podcast, I talked about that celebration is like a dopamine rush. And actually, it sets you up for burnout. And
Mm-hmm.
in a way, with all good intentions, the celebration increases an expectation, which is an external motivation. And we put our intrinsic motivation to the side. But when we feel seen and heard, it becomes personal, becomes human, becomes
Mm-hmm.
relational. And when I hear or experience, maybe that's the better word, that I'm seen and heard, I open up. I have less hard time to be vulnerable. I
Mm-hmm.
trust the other person earlier to speak into my life, into my performance with good intentions that are also beneficial for me and not just for them. But it
Mm-hmm.
seems to be so hard for leadership, managers to give their people the feeling that they are seen and heard. What could be the hurdle?
One of the reasons it's so hard is because we're so busy. We're rushed. I have that meeting I have to be at. I have all those emails waiting for me. I have decisions I have to make. And when you're just rushing from meeting to meeting, from task to task, then you're not you're not taking the time to recognize and reward the people that are looking to you for inspiration and for leadership. And if I go on and on as an employee or as a family member or whatever the group is, just doing my thing and not receiving any kind of feedback, so feedback is a big part of this, um, then I'm less motivated. I start to become stagnant. I may feel stuck. But that I think about my kids and about how sometimes kids will act out. Why? To get their parents' attention. Negative attention is better than no attention. And becoming a parent was such an eye opener, as I think it is for all of us,
Yeah,
to
definitely.
to see how a toddler, a 1-year-old, manipulates the parent to get what they need. And I learned as much how to give good gifts to my children, the gift of attention, the gift of just touch and holding you, and new experiences and so forth. Um, and that's the place where our leadership really shows, when your guard is down and you're tired and you're at home, and how are you giving the best to your family? That's another thing to be intentional about
Yeah.
as a leader.
Well, you started your answer with saying because we are so rushed.
Yes.
And how while listening to you, I felt like because the leader, the parent, the manager is not listening to their own heart. So they can never give the feeling to the other person, their child, their follower, the employee, that their heart is important. So it's a cascading of making it impersonal.
Mhm.
And you have modeled as a leader, my heart is not important. So the one on the receiving end feel their heart is rejected with a narrative of it's not important. And that gives so much human resistance on the inside
Mhm.
that
And
if you don't,
resentment.
yeah, and
Mhm.
if you don't deal with it, which means you cope with it, then before you know, you have all those black spots on your heart and you losing connection with yourself. So it goes back to what you said earlier in the podcast. It's about slowing down. It's about
Yes.
who am I? What are my drivers? What are my triggers? What really matters to me? What's my unfolding identity in this setting, in this situation? And how
Mhm.
can I turn this setting, this situation in such a way that it's supporting my personal growth, me learning, me being in the right place, creating the right environment for others?
So true. And I think about intention and impact. It's never my intention that my employees feel they aren't important or I don't have time for them. That's never the intention, but sometimes that's the impact. And one of the books I read recently, The Relentless, um, Mark Comer, The Relentless um, Elimination of Hurry. Hurry.
Closing the book,
Hurry.
always dangerous in the podcast.
Sorry, I didn't know I was going to talk about it, or I would have had it at the top of my mind. Anyway, this book is about a pastor who discovered that he was not being a good pastor to his flock because he was too busy. And I think about Moses in the Old Testament, that his father-in-law Jethro said, "You're working yourself too hard. You need to delegate." And there are some things that can be delegated and some things that can't. But slowing down, eliminating hurry, prioritizing, and focusing on what's important, that's what the alt forum helps you to do, is to get rid of some of the noise. And I've got to say that these things, they're a great tool, but they're not always your friend. And when I look around, I'm at a date night with my husband and we're at dinner and I see couples looking at their phone. I don't want to be that person.
No, because the rhythm, the routine is outsourced to, well, it doesn't even matter to what. It's outsourced and it should not be, it should be insourced. Like
Mm-hmm.
your rhythm, your routine, your slowing down, speeding up is connected to your authenticity, to your learning. Like all the circles, curves, processes, loops, spirals, waves, whatever model we think of nowadays to say it's not linear, it's not
It's not linear.
predictable.
Mhm.
You have to take ownership over it. And it can be
Yes.
really scary because it's like the title of our talk, it is unscripted. So,
Yeah.
how do I meet expectation?
Well, I have adjusted my mindset to say the unscripted journey opens up opportunity. So if my husband gets laid off and he was expecting to work until retirement at that job, and then there's a merger and his job is eliminated, what opportunities does that open up? Where can he change direction? What can he do differently? It's a it's a it's an opportunity. It's a perspective. So again, in my introduction, you talked about one of the things that I do is help leaders see different perspectives so they can chart the best path forward. Um, in an earlier podcast, Deb Maher talked about um, things being done for you, not to you. Changing that mindset, saying, "Okay, I thought I had a plan. You know, Proverbs, many are the plans of a man, but the Lord ordains his steps. So what what can I do now that I'm not doing that other thing?" And it having that mindset and that focus on, okay, this wasn't my plan, but where how is this going to help me live into my authentic self and my future? And um, there's so many possibilities.
Absolutely. And helping someone shifting lenses is something different than modeling it yourself, but it's way more powerful to inspire other people by switching the lens to
Yes.
what if the future is happening for me? What in
Mhm.
this situation that I can't oversee, what gift is hidden in there that I'm going to receive? That's
I love
so
that
hard.
imagery of the gift. There is a gift in there. There is a gift. It's waiting
Yeah.
for me to open it.
And
But
it's
if I'm looking behind me at, well, but I wanted that thing, but the future is unscripted. You chart your path. So how are you going to approach that?
absolutely. And someone else's gift can look amazing, but it's not your gift. And we are all created to be the biggest gift for someone else, not just someone else, for the right person. So finding out who we are, what a gift is,
Mhm.
using our perspectives, a shift in perspectives to navigate every situation is all about to unfold the biggest gift we can become for someone else. That makes the world turn around.
That's community. That's love. And having the perspective of how can I help others? I'm a member of a group, a peer networking group, and they have a motto: hope. Help one person every day. And part of the idea is if you're suffering from grief or loss or um, whatever your challenge, getting past my pain and helping somebody else, that's powerful. It's really powerful.
Yeah. Well, thank you for so many nuggets, gemstones to ponder. And I really want to invite our listeners, those who tuned in, stayed with us till the end, to trust themselves and be triggered by something that resonated or sparked in our conversation that could lead to something meaningful for your own journey. And the first step is always to journal, to make a note of it. And why not leave it in the comments below? Because I love to read your thoughts and connect over it. Next week, we'll have a next episode of the interview where we talk about from flow to foresight. Another fascinating jump in our personal leadership. But if you can't wait, and Elizabeth mentioned it already at least once, if you can't wait to explore the future, just join us in the A.L.T forum. This is an exclusive peer dialogue for visionary leaders to pioneer and also ponder about the A.L.T question, the authentic leadership transformation question that shapes our leadership for a future together. So you can just experience it first and decide later if this is a fit for you. Go to alt.businessrevivalists.com. I would love to see you there.